I'm going to turn this into a video, so it may take a while. But I'm going to start answering the questions I asked for specifically dragons in mythology. Excuse that pause, I was taking a drink. First question is Helix asks, most bizarre dragon you have found in your studies. And I... Yeah, you guys know me pretty well by now. I hope you know me and dragons pretty well by now to know that my answer is probably going to be the Tarrasque. It's just a weird dragon. The fact that it is a dragon when like other things aren't called dragons that are, in my opinion, almost more dragon-like is part of what weirds me out. So like the Tarrasque is a dragon, but like the Ammut, the Egyptian like hardy demon, that's like part crocodile, part lion, part I think it's part leopard or whatever, part some sort of African feline, part like hippo. That's not typically considered a dragon. But like if you look at what the Tarrasque is, it's a six-legged lion turtle. So I'm not really sure what about that makes it more dragon-like than like something that's like a griffin that's like half feline, half avian, or the Kirin, which is like basically just a Chinese dragon if you smushed it into a horse shape. So like things like that aren't usually called considered dragons, but the Tarrasque usually does end up in like books about dragons, and I'm guessing I think part of the issue with the Tarrasque and the depiction of the Tarrasque is earlier depictions of the Tarrasque do show it definitely as being more normal. Like normal in the sense of dragons. Like I've seen some earlier depictions like I think it usually always kind of has the six legs, but like earlier depiction makes it more like reptilian. I've seen some earlier depictions that kind of make it just kind of look like a six-legged crocodile, which, yeah, then I can see more why it would be called a dragon. But like the most famous depiction of the Tarrasque is the one where it's like you got like lion head, turtle shell covered in spikes, like six legs that I think are sometimes described as being like bear legs, and then like a long snakefish tail. And it's a dragon. It's a dragon for some reason. Though it may have a competitor. Because that's usually considered a dragon. One of the weirdest dragons I've found in my studies, because I've only really found it, I believe, once. Like the first dragon book I owned. One of the ones I have right here is the... Yeah, it's not in this one. One of the first books I owned, I think it's like A Natural History of Dragons by something Shucker. It's a good book. And he's the one who classifies the dragons into like the five main groups. The serpent dragons, which are just like the worms and the sea serpents and all those. The semi-dragons, which are like wyverns and linnet worms and those. Then the classical dragons, which are just like your classical four-legged, winged fire breathers. Nothing special there. And then the sky dragons he has, which are the Chinese dragons and like the feathered serpents and the flying snakes and all those. And his last group is what he calls neo dragons, and it kind of includes things that are dragons but that can't really fall well into the other groups. So like things like the Hydra, which like you think would probably fall more into like serpent dragons. At least the earlier depictions of them, but like the multiple heads kind of make them weird in that respect. Or like the basilisk and the cockatrice, which are like incredibly poisonous reptiles with some avian features, which, yeah, once you start fusing reptilian and avian features together, you're pretty much a dragon at that point. And again, like they don't really mesh well into any of the other categories. Like he has a Tarrasque in that section too, but something he has in that section, and I've never really seen it used in reference to dragons. Did he have it in this section? I think he had it in this section. If not, he had it in one of the other sections, which makes it even weirder. Is he for some reason he had the Bunyip there. And the Bunyip is a really, really weird mythical creature, and not something that, in and of itself, I probably would have considered a dragon. And I'm known for kind of stretching the definition of dragons at times to like include things I feel it should include, but the Bunyip is one where even I think it's kind of stretching it. For certain depictions of Bunyip. The issue with the Bunyip is it's described as being very, very... The depictions don't match up with anything. Like, some depictions kind of make it sound like a bird person. Some it kind of sounds like a large aquatic dog. Like, the depiction he uses, it has, like, scales and, like, claws and, like, a pouch, like, at least, and, like, horns. So his depiction at least does kind of look like a dragon. But, like, the Bunyip is such a varied creature when it's described. It's kind of a class all its own. Because there is no such thing as the Bunyip. It's like 50,000 things that we're all calling Bunyips. Oh, Bunyip wrong, hold on. That, like, they don't mesh. They don't mesh well together. So, so if we're including that, the Bunyip is probably going to be, like, if we're including that, then the Bunyip is probably going to win out. If we're not including that, then the Tarrasque. If we're including things that are typically considered dragons, like by a lot of people, then the Tarrasque is by far, like, the weirdest, one of the weirdest dragons I've ever really come across. I think if there are weirder ones. Tatzelworms are pretty weird. No, the Tarrasque, I think, for now wins out. I can't really think of a weirder dragon than Lion Turtle. I don't know, the Piazza maybe. The Piazza's another weird one. If only because, like, it's kind of, like, completely normal Western dragon that for some reason has, like, a person face. The Piazza's a little weird. Alright. Next question is, what is the oldest depiction of a dragon that I know of? Again, by Helix. I was actually mulling over the question a while, because dates are hard to find sometimes, and there are, if you're asking me for the oldest, like, story about a dragon, I think Tiamat, the ancient Middle Eastern sea goddess, I think she may be one of the first. Like, I think there's a myth that comes a little before her, but I'm not quite sure about how it lines up. I think there's a myth of, like, a large bird called Zu that kind of may be a dragon, and I'm not sure exactly which of the two came before the other. Like, those two seem to be, like, some of the earliest, like, written stories. Like, here's the story of a dragon doing dragon things. Earliest physical depiction may come from the East, and they're called pig dragons, I believe, and they're like these little jade rings of things that kind of have dragon pig faces. And I think they're pretty old, and they may be like the oldest physical depiction of a dragon. They're from, like, Neolithic China, which I don't. I can't really find, like, an exact, like, date on them, though. Apparently the culture that made them was from 4,700 to 2,900 BC. So some point during that time frame, it looked like you had these people making these jade dragon-ish carvings. So I think those may be like the earliest physical depictions of dragons. Yeah, so that seems to be those pig dragons may be the earliest depictions, but I think the earliest like written myths, I was like double checking something. I think the earliest like written myths come from like the Middle East and seem to be like Tiamat and her kin. That again, that question was also Helix. I'm not sure if I said that. Scrolling up a bit. Also, I want to point out the fact that, like, I asked Caesar if he wants to do a chat. Caesar, if I'm taking a while to respond, that's because I'm doing this. Alright, now I have a few questions from Metatron. I have two from her. First one is, what is my favorite dragon myth? What country is it from? And why is it my favorite? I'm going to cheat here and not give you my exact favorite, because there are a few that, like, I like a lot. Tarrasque is one of them, but I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of the myth of the Tarrasque as much. Like, the myth in and of itself is just kind of a cliche, like, dragon destroyed countryside. Like, it's actually why it amuses me so much that, like, D&D has turned the Tarrasque into, like, this uber, like, kaiju monster. Because really, other than its appearance, it's just an average medieval dragon. Like, it appears, like, in the countryside, it, like, eats livestock and sometimes some farmers and, like, I don't know, destroys a few buildings. And then the saint comes in and tames it or kills it or whatever, and then the dragon is gone. So, like, there's nothing special about the Tarrasque's myth. Like, the Tarrasque itself is special. The actual dragon is unique. But the myth and, like, the whole story, like, you could, like, copy and paste from any, like, dragon book, and you wouldn't know the difference. Just change the name of the dragon, and no one know what the fuck you're talking about. They're all the fucking same. But my favorite dragon myth, which, because there are a few myths that vie for my favorite, and one of them is, like, the Four Dragons of China, in terms of the Four Rivers. So I really like that one. I'm a fan of Quetzalcoatl, but I'm not going to do any of those. Instead, I'm going to tell you about the Mortifor, I think it's Mortifor? Hold on, let me... Yeah, Mortiford. The Wyvern of Mortiford. 1, 2... Basically, I've heard a few different versions of this. The version I have in the book with me at the time is different than the original version I've heard, but really only when you get to the end. And it's from England. And the reason it's my favorite, I'm going to tell you what the myth is. Basically, the myth is there's a little girl named Maud who's just, like, off in the forests because medieval children are stupid and don't know that there are werewolves out there. She's just, like, kind of out in the forest, like, blah, 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 and she... Like, the version I have in this book says she's not allowed to have a pet, so she feeds wild animals a lot. The original version I read didn't include that, but, like, whatever. There's a little girl out playing in the woods. Parents are dumb for letting her play in the woods or whatever. And she sees a small little green thing that has been described as times as having a body no larger than a cucumber. Just a little green lizardy thing, just flying, just flapping around, sniffing things. It has wings, but it's still little, so it can't fly. And she realizes, oh, I want this as a pet. So she picks it up and like takes it home to her parents. They're like, hey, Mom, Dad, look what I found. Can I keep it? And her parents are like, Jesus fucking Christ, you just found a baby wyvern. Put it back. Put it back now. That's not a good thing. And she's sad because I don't know, she wanted to keep it as a pet. So being a responsible child, she takes it back into the forest and doesn't get rid of it. She just keeps it in the forest, but she still visits it every day, and she feeds it like saucers of milk, and it starts to get bigger, because that's what babies do. They get bigger, and like, eventually milk isn't enough to feed it, so it starts like hunting the local like livestock. It starts off killing some sheep. Then it kills a cow. Then it kills the farmer. And once it's killed the farmer, shit's broken loose because now the wyvern has realized, hey, these weird two-legged things taste good. I'm gonna start hunting them from now on. Maud is completely safe. The dragon never attacks Maud and absolutely adores her because she's the mother of dragons. It's like the nearest version 1. Got weird pamphlet. So eventually they're like, yeah, we need to do something about the dragon that's eating everyone's like versions of her. Like some versions he's a noble, some versions he's a prisoner, or whatever. They get someone to go kill the dragon. Like, go kill the dragon. This is where the versions diverge a little, not completely a lot. Like in one version, like he kills the dragon but dies because he gets killed by like the venom, which isn't too odd in Dragon Myth to have the dragon kill the person who slayed it. The other version, like, he's killing the dragon and, like, delivers the death blow, but doesn't quite finish it off yet, and, like, Maud is watching from the bushes, completely traumatized, because despite the fact that her pet is a man-eating monster, it's still her pet, and she still loves it, so, like, she starts throwing rocks at the knight, and and he's just like, well, fuck that shit, and leaves. So, and like she just like goes to the dying wyvern and like hugs it and cries because like her childhood pet's been killed. That's really fucking sad. Now the reason why this myth is one of my favorites is because it's not a myth. Like it has a lot of stuff happening in it that you won't really expect to happen in myths. Like the girl finding a dragon, taming it, and like being best friends with it isn't a myth. Isn't a popular topic of myth. It's a very popular topic, however, of modern fiction. Which I kind of like that something like this is actually fairly old. I don't know when exactly the myth originated from, but like, no, this is like a myth of someone taming a dragon, and I kind of like that. It's from Europe too. Like, even though like the ending of the myth like kind of just like turns back into normal, I do like how it starts off pretty good. And I guess it basically starts off as like the prototype for Daenerys. Alright. Metatron also asks, Sorry, Jazzy. Metatron also asks, what do I think makes a good Dragon's Myth story? As much as a fan I am of some of the old cliches, and I do like it when the old cliches are kind of like wink wink nodded to, like in the case of Smaug, which basically like Smaug is basically just cut and pasted out of Beowulf and placed into The Hobbit. Like that I really like, because it just shows Tolkien was a giant dragon nerd. I like originality. I like myths that are unique in some way. I like original myths. I like myths that don't have, like, the Tarrasque is a unique dragon. Like, Maud and her wyvern are, like, a unique storytelling thing. So, like, those I like. I like unique dragons. That's what I think makes a good myth. Is, like, one that's unique. Alright. And the last one... is from Helix, and she wants to know why I think the silliest dragon myth is, in my opinion. There are two. One is the French Guiver, a word I don't know how to pronounce. If you want to know, like, the spelling, I'll send you the spelling. Basically, French worm. It's basically a normal serpent dragon that lives in the water and poisonous, whatever. Just normal worm. Sorry, I'm talking to Dimitri. Now, this is weird, because it's not a dragon that's, like, a myth. This is one like the dragons where it's just, like, the basilisk. There's no one basilisk myth. It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, if you go out into the desert, there are these poisonous snakes. Watch out for those. This is one of those. It's like a dragon where it's like, there's not a single myth about a single dragon. It's just like, there's a lot of these, and they lived in France for a while, and they sucked, because having dragons move into your backyard sucks. The thing that makes them so amusing to me is the fact that apparently the way they eventually got rid of these was they found out that they are completely fucking terrified of naked people. I'm not even making this up. Just like a farmer was off bathing in the river once, so he stripped down, got in the river, came out, and realized, oh shit, there's a giant snake dragon about to eat me. Did not think this through, and the dragon sees him, it's about to eat him, and then realizes he's completely buck naked, and blushes and freaks the fuck out, and, like, runs away. Or slithers away. And they're like, oh, okay, dragons are afraid of naked people. So, yeah, that's up there was one of the silliest ones, because, like, hey, apparently snakes don't like penises. Apparently this is a race of giant prudes. Which means modern society could very easily defeat them with all our porn. One of the other silly myths, and I don't know if I have it with me right now. This is the thing, I don't have every dragon book I own with me at the moment, so just kind of sitting here helpless with my thumb my ass. Trying to figure out if I have it in whatever books I have it in. Oh, that one. Was it French maybe? Yeah, I can't find this one in this book, so I'm just gonna give you the Clip Note version of the myth. Basically, evil dragon destroying some kind of town, whatever. Knight shows up, battles the dragon, like, they both get kind of injured. And basically the way the fight ends is he grabs the dragon, flips it around, kicks it in the ass. The dragon, like, cries out in embarrassment, flies up, crashes to the earth dead. Basically, he kills the dragon by kicking its ass. Literally. That's always amused me. Because I don't know how you can kill a dragon that way. And that's all the dragon myth questions I had, and this is now about 25 minutes long, so I'm going to stop here. And hopefully find a way to post this video that's not a complete failure. So, I don't know. I have another question that isn't about mythology that I may do as a recording, but I also may not. So, I don't know. Until next time, see you.